Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows, Witchy Wisdom at Your Fingertips, by Deborah Blake. Narrated by Callie Beaulieu. Publisher's Note: This audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type The Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the Supplemental Content section, please enter the access code WITCHES, spelled WITCHS, and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All recipes referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. Introduction. Witches use many tools in the practice of their craft. What these tools consist of can vary widely from witch to witch. For some, the athame and the cauldron are vital, symbolizing the god and the goddess, and practical for directing energy and either burning or heating things in, respectively. For others, it might be a wand, a staff, a broom, an assortment of crystals or herbs or candles, maybe all of the above. And why not? Anything that is useful and boosts your magical power is worth having. If it is beautiful, that's a bonus. The tools that mean something to us on a personal and emotional level are also the ones that hold the most power. Whether it is a special pentacle necklace gifted to you by a friend, that piece of rose quartz that called to you during a time when you needed its calming aura, or even the simple athame you bought when you first realized you were a witch, the tools that are most deeply yours are the ones that mean the most. They personify your magic, and over time and use, they become a part of you. There is no tool more personal than a witch's book of shadows. Sometimes called a grimoire, a book of shadows contains a witch's magical information and the knowledge she or he gains over years of practice. Not every witch has one, and one book of shadows can look very different from another. As with everything else in witchcraft, there is no one right way to create one or use one, no matter what you might have been told. Keep in mind that the name Book of Shadows is relatively new, almost certainly originating with Gerald Gardner in the 1940s. The grimoire, or Book of Magic, however, goes quite deep into history, although that particular name is European in origin. There have been magical books dating back as far as the Library of Alexandria, the Greeks and Romans, the ancient Jews, and the Gnostic sects of early Christianity. Certainly the possession of such a book could have gotten you killed during the grim years of the witch hunts. Thankfully, these days, most of us can add a Book of Shadows to our collection of witchcraft tools without fear of being burned at the stake, although not everyone is going to leave theirs out where others can see it. Mine is old, but it definitely doesn't date back to the Library of Alexandria. In the early days of Wicca, a coven usually had a main Book of Shadows, and new initiates were allowed to copy the information it held into their own personal books, which they then added to as they pursued their studies. They were sworn to secrecy, and the secrets of the coven's magic were not to be shared with outsiders. These days, a coven might still have a group Book of Shadows, whether or not it is a secret. My group, Blue Moon Circle, does, although it is a fairly simple collection of our rituals along with some photos taken over the years, including vacations we took together, a copy of The Charge of the Goddess, and the names of each member who has been a part of Blue Moon Circle written on the inside front cover. It is as much a record of our journey together as it is a book of magic, and it brings back amazing memories whenever I look at it. It is not, however, a deep, dark secret, nor, I hate to admit it, very well organized. It doesn't have beautiful hand-drawn illustrations because my artistic skills are, shall we say, rudimentary at best. And it isn't even written out by hand because my handwriting is so appalling we'd never be able to read it later. So I type up the spells and rituals, sometimes using a pretty font, so that must count for something, right? And tape them into the book. We're modern eclectic witches, people. We do whatever works. For the most part, a Book of Shadows is created and used by an individual witch. Traditionally, such books were always supposed to be handwritten. It was thought that writing out the spells and information in your own handwriting gave them more power. Does it? Perhaps. And certainly if you have the time, the inclination, and decent penmanship, that's a great way to go. But with the increased use of computers, not to mention the publication of books like the one you are currently listening to, it has become more common to either type out your lists and spells and recipes or else use a book written by someone else. This book is meant to take the place of a Book of Shadows you have to start from scratch, although you may jot down your own notes as you follow the journey that is your life in the craft. I called it the Eclectic Witch's Book of Shadows because that is how I think of myself, as a witch who uses bits of this and that to make up my own personal witchcraft journey. Whether you are Wiccan, an eclectic witch, or anything in between, I hope that you will find this Book of Shadows useful, entertaining, and, of course, magical. How to use this book. As with any of my books, and all magical tools really, the answer to this question is whichever way works best for you. There is no one right approach to practicing witchcraft, and therefore no one right way to use a Book of Shadows. For those who are new to the craft, it might be helpful to start at the beginning and work through the book in order, learning as you go. Those who have been practicing for some time may wish to simply jump from section to section, using whichever bit is the most helpful for whatever magical workings you are doing at the time. For instance, if you are experimenting with magical herbs, you might go to that section and hear what information I have to share. But you don't need to stop there. Once you start doing work of your own, you can add notes on what worked or didn't, which herbs you were most drawn to, and so on. You can simply use the book as is, of course, but you also have the opportunity to truly make this into your own Book of Shadows by writing down the results of your personal magical practice. Which stones seem the most effective for prosperity or healing? Are there spells that seem to work for you every time? Which gods and goddesses do you connect to most, and why? This is your Book of Shadows. Use it for exploration, for learning, for practice, or just to listen to out of general interest. There is no right or wrong way. Simply what works for you. Herbs. Herbs are one of the most valuable tools in a witch's bag of tricks. Luckily, most of them are also inexpensive and easy to find. Even the exotic-sounding eye of newt was just another name for mustard seed, which might already be in your kitchen cupboard. Ceremonial magicians may use mandrake root, but most of us witches are just as well served by rosemary and lavender. In fact, many of the herbs and plants used in magical work are multipurpose and also can be used for healing and cooking, among other things. This makes mixing magic and the mundane easy, since you can add a bit of herbal magic to your meal, cup of tea, or bath. Our witchy predecessors were often herbalists and healers who either grew or foraged for many of their magical ingredients. Their skill was valued by those who knew they could be relied upon for help with matters of the body, heart, or spirit, and this knowledge was sometimes passed down through families or by apprenticeship. Back in those days, much of the learning was probably taught by example, but sometimes information was shared through grimoires or even simple household books that were probably filled with drawings of the herbs and prized methods for charms, potions, and recipes. They may not have called themselves witches, but they were pagans who lived on and valued the land, and that's good enough for me. These days, witches are more likely to be self-taught, unless they have both the inclination to be part of a coven and the good fortune to be able to find one nearby. The herbal knowledge in our own modern grimoires or books of shadows is sometimes gleaned from books or trial and error or even, the internet. But we still use herbs as one of the core elements of a witchcraft practice, and they are the perfect place to start a book of shadows. Some of my favorite herbs and their uses. Keep in mind that for magical purposes, the word herb is used for pretty much any kind of plant, so that includes what we normally consider to be an herb, like rosemary or thyme, as well as fruits, trees, shrubs, and even so-called weeds like dandelion or burdock. Apple. Blossoms, fruit, and wood. Primarily used for love and healing magic, although the wood makes a nice wand and the cider is a great ale for cakes and ale at the end of a ritual, especially one that takes place in the fall. Apples are particularly witchy because if you slice one crosswise, you will see the shape of a pentacle inside. For simple love magic, try baking an apple pie and adding cinnamon, which is associated with passion. Basil. Leaves. Used for love, protection, prosperity, and, theoretically, exorcism. I don't have any experience with that last one, but you could certainly use it to try banishing negative emotions. Easily used in cooking, like my recipe for prosperity pesto, which I make with walnuts, fertility, instead of pine nuts. As a dried herb, basil also works well when added to sachets or magical mixes. Calendula, flowers, also known as marigold. Often used by herbalists for its healing properties, but also grown by many folks as an ornamental. In magic, it can be used for healing, love, and to boost psychic abilities. I like to use the dried flowers in healing sachets, although I also grow them in my garden just because they're pretty. Catnip. Leaves, flowers. Love, happiness, beauty, sleep, calm, connection with cats. While more often associated with felines than with humans, catnip, which is a member of the prolific mint family, has healing qualities for people as well. Magically, you can use it in sachets for sleep, calm, and love, but be prepared to share them with your cats if you have any. It is also useful in cat magic, especially a spell to find a familiar. Chamomile. Flowers. Peace, sleep, love, prosperity, protection. This is one of my favorite herbs to use in sleep or calming sachets. It is also a traditional healing tea that can be used for either of those purposes, so you can bless and consecrate some chamomile on the night of the full moon, and then drink it as a tea when you need it. Cinnamon. Bark. Prosperity, success, passion, love, lust, healing, protection, power, psychic ability, spirituality. Who would have thought that the simple cinnamon in your cupboard could have so many magical uses? Cinnamon is especially useful in love and prosperity mixtures, and can easily be added to food. Actually a spice that comes from the inner bark of an evergreen tree, cinnamon is usually found in its powdered form. But I like to use cinnamon sticks, long chunks that haven't been ground up, in charm bags, magical mixes, and even as a miniature wand to stir the Yule wassail. Dill. Leaves, flowers, and seeds. Love, protection, prosperity. Magical prosperity pickles? Sure, why not? Dill is a tall plant that is used both for its delicate-looking thin green leaves and then, later in the season, the flowering heads filled with seeds that are used to flavor pickles and other foods. It is easy to grow and can be used fresh or dried. For a boost of prosperity, I toss the fresh herb in my salads in early summer and add it to various magical mixes later in the year in its dried form. Eucalyptus. Leaves. Healing and protection. Eucalyptus is a powerful healing herb, whether you are using the dried leaves or the essential oil. It has a strong, pungent odor and can be quite powerful, so it is best used in small amounts. The oil can be added to healing mixtures or the leaves placed in sachets or poppets intended for healing use. Garlic. Bulb. Healing, protection. As anyone who has ever eaten it knows, garlic is a strong-smelling herb that will chase away prospective dates and possibly vampires. But in magical work, its protective properties will definitely work for your benefit. You can use whole cloves in protection sachets or powdered dry garlic in spell mixtures. I don't suggest putting those under your pillow, though. It is also used for healing and can be added to food if you are doing kitchen witchery. Magical chicken soup for a cold? You bet. Just remember to focus on its healing potential as you use it. Geranium. Flowers, leaves. Love, healing, protection. Geraniums are a pretty and easy-to-grow plant that comes in a range of colors, red and pink being among the most common. The plants themselves can act as protection for the home, and the flowers can be picked and added to sachets or other magical preparations. Rose geranium in particular has very pleasantly scented leaves and makes a lovely essential oil. Note that geranium essential oil and rose geranium essential oil will have different scents. They are both useful for love and protection work, but the rose geranium in particular is known for its calming and healing properties. Ginger. Root. Power, energy, prosperity, success, love, especially the passionate type. Ginger is a fiery herb that lends its heat and power to any spell you use it in. It can be used in the powdered form in magical mixtures, or pieces of the whole root can be sliced and added to food or charm bags. Most of the herbs I've listed are perfectly safe for cats and dogs, but you always want to use caution if you are using plants around animals. Keep in mind that they are often attracted to the smell of herbs and will chew on live plants and gnaw through plastic bags to get to dried herbs. Lavender. Flowers. Love, sleep, happiness, purification, healing, peace. Lavender is a beautiful and strongly scented flower with many magical uses. If you have a garden, it is lovely to cut the fresh flowers and place them on your altar. For most, however, the dried version will have to do. My group often follows the traditional practice of tossing lavender into the midsummer bonfire as a sacrifice to the goddess. I also use the herb in sachets for healing and peace, and tuck one under my pillow to help me sleep. It makes a wonderful incense, and the essential oil is easy to use in magical baths or sprays. Lemon. Juice. Peel. Purification, cleansing, love, energy. All the citruses, especially lemon, orange, and grapefruit, have similar magical properties, but lemon in particular is good for any purification or cleansing work. Add a few drops to your mop water for a magical boost to your housework, especially if you are doing spring cleaning. The dried peel can be added to sachets and charm bags for love or purification, and the essential oil is perfect for room sprays that are intended to purify your space and boost your energy. Lemon balm. Leaves. Healing, happiness, calm, love. Lemon balm is a member of the mint family and will grow prolifically in a garden. It is known for its ability to attract bees and is sacred to Artemis and Diana. Lemon balm can be made into a magical tea to boost the mood or calm a troubled spirit, and the leaves or essential oil are particularly helpful in spell mixtures to deal with sleep, anxiety, or depression. Mugwort. Leaves. Psychic powers, protection, divination, dreaming, astral projection. Mugwort's most common use is in a dream sachet, which, when tucked under one's pillow, is said to aid in prophetic dreaming. It is also used in incenses and drunk in teas to boost the user's powers of divination. While not as dangerous as the hallucinogenic herbs employed by earlier witches, some people can find mugwort overwhelming, and it should be used with caution if you have no previous experience with it. Parsley. Leaves. Protection and purification. Parsley isn't considered to be one of the more powerful magical herbs, but I like it because it is so easy to add to foods if you are doing kitchen witchery. If you are already making a dish with the magical intent of protection or purification, why not toss in a little parsley for a magical boost? Peppermint. Leaves. Healing, purification, love, prosperity, abundance, psychic powers. Peppermint has traditionally been used for healing work, either as a tea or by rubbing the leaves over the affected area. In herbal medicine, it is used both for upset stomachs and headaches, so this makes sense. The leaves, or a few drops of essential oil, can be sprinkled in vulnerable areas to keep away pests and added to wash water when you are house cleaning or mopping. I like to use it in prosperity work. As a member of the mint family, peppermint spreads and grows exuberantly, making it the perfect symbol for abundance. Rose. Petals and hips. Rose hips are the fruit of the plant. Love, healing, protection, divination. Roses are useful in healing work, but their most common association, magically and otherwise, is with love. If you are making a love sachet or any kind of love magic mixture, you will definitely want to add rose petals. You can use a fresh rose or roses or the dried petals. If doing healing work, you may want to use rose hips, which are high in vitamin C and can be made into a healing tea. If someone you love, romantically or not, gives you roses, hang them upside down to dry and keep the petals for magical work. Different colors of roses can also be used for varying kinds of magic, such as red for passion and pink for friendship. Rosemary. Leaves. Healing, protection, love, conscious mind and memory, purification. Rosemary is an all-around hard-working magical herb. It is associated with protection, and people used to plant rosemary bushes outside their homes to keep them safe from thieves and maintain the health of those in the household. You can use small potted plants or a rosemary wreath instead. It boosts all mental abilities, so you can burn rosemary incense if you have to study for a test. A common saying is rosemary for remembrance, which refers not only to its mind-sharpening gifts, but also its use in rituals to honor the dead. It is my favorite protection herb, and I use it in all my charm bags and magical kits for that purpose. Sage. Leaves. Protection, purification, wisdom, long life. Probably best known for its use in sage smudge sticks, which are used to purify both people and spaces. Sage sticks are usually made from white sage, which grows in desert conditions and is stronger in flavor and aroma than the common culinary sage most of us have in our kitchens. Regular culinary sage can be used both in cooking and magic. Sage is easy to grow in the garden or on a windowsill, so you can pluck a leaf or two and add it to your food. Dried sage can be used in protection charm bags or mixes. If eaten regularly, the herb was said to impart long life and also make one wise. This makes sense, since sage is another word for a wise person. Thyme. Leaves. Purification, healing, psychic ability, love, sleep. Thyme is another herb that is easy to grow in the garden, or even places where you walk, since it makes a sweet-smelling ground cover, or on a kitchen windowsill. Fresh or dried thyme can be used in various magical applications. It can be burned to purify a space before magical work, or added to healing baths, teas, or magical mixes. It is said that if you place it under your pillow, it will cure nightmares. Lore has it that if a woman wears thyme in her hair, she will be irresistible, but I have to wonder if people are just staring at her because she has a plant in her hair. Yarrow. Leaves and flowers. Courage, love, protection, psychic ability, exorcism. Yarrow is a flowering herb that can often be found growing wild, and it is a pretty addition to an herb garden, witchy or otherwise. It has traditionally been used in protection and love spells, and was said to make love last for at least 7 years. After year 8, you're on your own. It can be made into a tea, dried and added to charm bags or decorations, or placed in a vase as a fresh bouquet when it is in season. You can use its exorcism powers to help drive out negativity from your home. There are many, many, many more herbs than I have listed here, some of which are quite commonly used for witchcraft. Some of them I don't use because I don't like the smell, or I've simply found more readily available herbs that work for me just as well. And frankly, I don't have the space or the money to stock every kind of herb there is. So I tend to pick the ones I can also use for medicinal or culinary purposes, or that I can utilize for multiple magical needs. But this is your book of shadows, so feel free to add notes on any other herbs you wish to add to your own list, or keep track of which ones seem to work the best for you. Yarrow, a cautionary tale. Yarrow is a commonly used magical herb, and it can also be quite useful for healing applications. But I never use it because I'm highly allergic to it. I found out by accident a number of years before I became a witch, when I was attending a wedding in a meadow filled with the stuff, and someone recommended making a tea for some ailment I had. So I walked around the meadow picking the pretty white flowers on.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?